Go ahead.
A little cool after that walk, eh?
Oh, are you?
Well, you don't have a smile.
I'll talk.
Anyway, there we go. I don't think I covered this one. Fiction of contemporary Canada, right?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm eating
I think-
baba ganoush I made yesterday because
Yeah.
it was raining for a couple days, so the house was actually cool.
Yeah.
So I got to make baba ganoush inside. I bought the eggplant hoping to do it at a barbecue because that's how I make my baba ganoush
The
usually.
weather hasn't been that conducive for barbecue. Kind of unusual because we're already well into July.
Yeah.
Right? We're 8th
Usually
of July.
Making lots of baba ganoush in
There we go.
July.
Yeah.
August,
Anyway.
September.
Yeah. Anyway, fiction of contemporary Canada is not so contemporary now. When does this date to? 1980? 1980. Yeah, I remember that. So, Audrey Thomas, John Newlove, Margaret Atwood, there we go. Still going strong. Ray Smith, Sheila Watson, I think she had a big reputation. Although she's probably long gone by now. J. Michael Yates, Andrea Schroeder, Rudy Weed, couple of German names there. Daphne Marlett, Dave Godfrey, Gwendolyn McEwen, that's a famous name. Gladys Hindmarch, George Bowering, that's a famous name. Matt Cohen, David Young, and poor B.P. Nichol, who I actually have seen performing kind of like live. He's supposedly an experimental poet. It's very brave for him to get out there and advertise his failed experiments. They're all failed, poor fellow. And like he even does the E.E. Cummings BP, it's lowercase. But then like he really is original because uppercase for the nickel. Buddy, you're really on the ball, I'm telling you. Anyway, yeah, like E.E. Cummings. When was it? Like the 20s. What was his? It's old-fashioned to do that lowercase kind of thing. But yeah. I think it was kind of like a failed experiment. That's what a lot of experimental. But anyway, experimental. He does an experimental short story here. It's very short, mercifully brief. Because it's, he believes in repeating experiments. So he's repeating kind of like Gertrude Stein's experiment, or Stein, probably is how she mispronounced it. But, a rose is a rose is a rose, and, that seems kind of semi-profound until you actually run across one of her, what do you call it, novels? I don't know. And then you go, make it stop, make it stop, make it stop. You realize you're the one who's being experimented on, and she's experimenting to see how much boredom you can put up with. I don't know how she stayed awake writing her stuff. It's terrible stuff. But anyway, it helps. I'm finding out. I've got another collection of Canadian
And
shorts.
honestly, I mean, who would be so educated with roses that they would actually just think, roses.
A rose is a rose is a rose.
No.
See, that's cartoon.
There's so many.
Well, you got wild roses and
there's so many
tea
breeds of roses.
roses
They're
and-
amazing.
Yeah.
And they all have slightly different scents.
Yeah.
And
See?
Some have no scents.
Yeah.
And they look very different.
Yeah.
Different growth patterns, all sorts of things.
The flowers look different too. Some of them are flat. Some of
So
them are,
no, a rose is a rose is a rose. That's not true.
It's
Not
ridiculous.
True. It's
So
ridiculous.
it's a bad experiment, failed
yes,
experiment.
right away, that person hasn't seen enough roses to even write about them. So why should we consider anything they write further than that? They're just showing how ignorant they are.
But to a large extent, that's what a lot of writers do. I think I've said before, I was still in Africa, so I wasn't even 5 years old. I'm looking at cartoons, and I got a horror vacui, which is, I was looking at these comic strips, actually. It was probably something like High and Lois or something like that. And I was going, that's not the way things are. And it wasn't so much a horror; it's more like boredom. Like, and that's not the way things are. It's not right. But I get that impression reading BP now, or uh, reading. Wow, that one got a lot of blood out of it. Reading Gertrude Stein. A lot of the stuff in here, like I gotta say, actually, when I read most fiction nowadays, it's just I know more than I knew when I was 4 years old. I'm going, that's not the way things are, like I think they're trying, but they just don't know enough,
Yeah, I think that's it. Is a lot of people who label themselves as artists.
Yeah.
And each other, like within their own little clique.
Yeah, patting themselves on the back and.
I would say they're not actually artists. They're they're a part of that culture.
Yeah.
And
they're what I call jocks. People who hang around at a gym, shooting hoops, and they have a few favorite spots where they shoot
they're
from.
yellows or reds or yellow reds.
Yeah.
That usually, and they're not. Yeah. Everything that they do is really failed experiment. They're not actually artists. And I think with all the reds and yellows, they peak by age 25. Mm-hmm. They peak in that aggressive, they're aggressive types, and they don't go beyond that. And so whatever work they do and whatever, I don't know, acknowledgement they get for work or whatever that's done after that point is really based on whatever they had before age 25.
So they build up a huge reputation, right? They're all patting each other on the back. And sometimes they're knifing each other in the back too, but that comes with the territory when you came with reds and yellow. But so it just lasts for the rest of their life. Mm-hmm. What's an example? The Rolling Stones. At one point in time, they were maybe somewhat relevant, about the time of Beggar's Banquet and Let It Bleed. So that would be like 1968, 69. How old was Mick Jagger? He'd be about 25 years old, maybe. Yeah, 25 years old. And they say that when oldest siblings, at least if they're male, if they're oldest, then he is the oldest. They stop mutating or whatever, age 25. There you go. So that's just a testimonial, like it's just one case, but it does fit in, and I think we found, like we looked at more stuff than what this guy who wrote the book Born to Rebel looked at. You'd find exceptions, but you'd find that statistically it's probably true. There's Mick Jagger, hasn't done anything. Keith Richards, 1969. That's when he picked up his the way he strings his guitars, generally tunes his guitars. Picked it up from Ry Cooder. Didn't even invent it himself, and it's what Ry Cooder used on Honky Tonk Women. He actually worked on that. He's the one who actually made it into something like ear candy or something like that. Yeah. So that's 1969, and again, Keith Richards, a little bit younger, I think, than Mick Jagger, but maybe 1-2 years. So about the same thing, about age 25. I don't know if he's older than family,
yeah. But, I think all aggressive people do after age 25 is try to maintain dominance.
Yeah.
And they can't do it performance-based, so they just do it with aggression.
Who wants to listen to this stuff? There's very little stuff done by the Rolling Stones I want to hear after. I find maybe their most interesting album now, in some ways, a couple of years after that, Sticky Fingers. But the thing to understand is it was released in '71. But like if you watch the film "Give Me Shelter," which was filmed in '69, you see Mick Jagger. They're playing something that they were working on in the United States. I presume in Los Angeles they worked there a fair amount, even earlier. And it's Brown Sugar, which is the thing that leads off Sticky Fingers. So it was 2 years later, a little less than 2 years later. So, that's when that stuff was done. So.
No, but we actually have some COVID news to talk about.
Okay, well, we all seem to.
Yeah, we were listening to the radio on the way
CBC
to and
again.
from our hike.
Yeah, we're
We
real
went to
suckers for
Oslo.
punishments. Anyway.
And apparently, the WHO has said that starvation is more of a concern, kills more people than COVID. And then
Well, that was UNESCO. No, was it
It was
UNESCO?
WHO.
Was
And
it the WHO?
It was WHO.
What a
And
bunch of
so-
sweet buckets.
Then the interviewer who was reporting this, or whatever, that was talking with the host about this on the radio, was saying, well, there's fields that are full of food that can't be harvested because there isn't anybody to harvest it because of COVID, really. So it's not that, that for one thing, the WHO's saying that that's a horrible thing to say, that starvation is more of a concern than COVID, because then that makes people think, oh, well,
We always had starvation.
yeah,
We seem to
and
be able to handle
so,
it. So.
yeah, so now I don't care about either, right? They think, oh, neither are
Cares about
concerned.
COVID.
Yeah, because they don't really care about starvation as long as it's, not happening to them
Yeah.
personally. So they're certainly not going to care about COVID either now with a report like that. That's,
No.
I mean, it's this is the kind of thing you have to think about when you're giving public releases like that. You really have to think about what you're saying before you go out and say it. So
Otherwise,
Yeah.
it's a law of unintended consequences.
So anyway, really, the fact that the food is not being harvested because people there's not a safe sort of way to handle the migrant labor to harvest the food that way, which is ridiculous. So they obviously have to come up with a new way to harvest, basically, so that people are safe and paid fairly for their labor.
Exactly.
Or else mechanization. One or the other. They're going to have to either pay people fairly and do it safely, or mechanize. One or the other. So either that has to happen, or the food is not going to be harvested. But if the food is not harvested and people starve because there's not food harvested from the fields, it's because of COVID. It's because the COVID made this unsafe environment for people. Do you get it? So
Who doesn't? And they're
and they're wondering now in Calgary and other places if they should make it mandatory that people wear masks when they're
In
on
certain
public
situations.
transit, in public spaces, and it's like,
do you
why
have
would you?
to ask?
Yeah, honestly. And at the same time, they had a big COVID outbreak at a hospital in Edmonton, and it's like, okay, so now if I have a heart attack, or if somebody if somebody has a heart attack, they go to Edmonton to get heart surgery, right? If you're in
Fun
Alberta.
times.
Yeah. So now you can't go into emergency in that hospital. I didn't catch which
That's what
hospital
they were
it
saying.
was or whatever. But
Was
I
it the
know that,
Misericordia or something like that?
I don't know.
Yeah, something like that.
But if you can't go to emergency at that hospital anymore at all, and they can't do surgeries now. So, wow.
Well, okay.
So that's something to think about.
Could be worse. And Jason Kenney at the house. It just might get worse.
Interesting stuff. But it's a beautiful day,
Yeah.
and we had a beautiful hike. We saw nobody else on the trail at all.
No, we didn't.
No. There were some kids playing in a yard nearby.
Oh, you noticed that. They
Yeah,
were having
stuff
lots
like
of
that,
fun.
yeah.
Reminded me when I was a kid.
But, that was on the way back.
We saw 3 rabbits
Mm-hmm.
on the way down. We saw 2 very impressive birds. We're figuring they're finches, right? Almost certain. I've forgotten which type of finch. We looked those up. Goldfinch.
Well, I saw something funny, and I'm hesitant to talk about it because I don't want anybody to think I'm awful for saying it or something like that. But I saw a woman, she's wearing the head veil, and she's all right down to the toes, she's all covered up. and no mask at the bus stop. And I'm just looking at this thinking, why not the mask too? I don't understand. If you're going to cover yourself all up, and then it's COVID right now, right? Maybe she doesn't have a family to protect.
That wasn't the bus stop.
I don't understand.
I don't know if she
I don't
was
understand
Middle
people.
Eastern or Eastern European. I don't-
Oh.
So, it's not as though we're picking out someone for a religion.
Probably Canadian now, one would assume, if she's here. But anyway, we were also hearing about Hong Kong and people with dual citizenship, the possibility of letting them come back to Canada. And it's like, nope,
It's a
nobody
little
with
late
dual
now.
citizenship should be moving.
No.
If they are where they're meant to be, then that's where they're meant to be right now. This is COVID. You just gotta shut it down.
I don't think
for
they're
a while.
going to die there. There might be some people who.
Well, you know
be
what?
put in jail.
If they will die there, then other people bringing them here will make other people die here because you're
Yeah,
bringing them here.
Exactly.
So
It's just not a good time to be stuck in a situation.
nope, just hanker down and try to keep safe. Try to get some exercise in places where
Yeah.
nobody else goes. Like I was talking about, I've told a few people about Alexander Wilderness Park, the nature reserve. And still, I never see anybody there when we go.
Never.
It's like very rarely have we seen another person while we're out. So,
Yeah. And then if you survive, we give up on the dual citizenship. The world can't afford dual citizenship anymore.
no,
There's
the
too
world
many-
can't afford having high intensity meat production. The world can't afford having a whole bunch of things. Really, the world needs to wake up because of this. They need to look around and face issues and not just go on as things have went on in the past and
You've got to
put
actually.
this behind us when it's all behind us. I mean, it's not now. They're talking about, oh, well, there's no funding for people they'll have to go on employment insurance and this and that. And it's like, wow, well, this is going to be interesting.
How are you going
right?
to fund
How are you
unemployment
gonna,
insurance?
Yeah,
if
exactly.
people aren't there to pay the taxes. So, yeah, I used to be all for dual
I
citizenship.
mean, they only save so much ripping off people like James from their old age security, which he still hasn't gotten. He's been denied for.
It's over a year now.
Yep.
Huh?
Have to reapply again.
Huh?
They know he's a citizen.
Yeah, they do know.
He's misplaced. What article is it they need from you?
I don't know what all they
Something.
need.
And they told him
Birth
send that
certificates.
in, whatever. And it's like,
I was born elsewhere, but to Canadian citizens, and on my mom's side, Canadian citizens going back before Canada existed, really. And some were United Empire loyals, and then there was one guy who was an explorer, and he was exploring this part of Canada
well, last time
more than 200 years ago.
Last time we went to the Canadian office here, they got us to fill out a form. Well, James to fill out a form, so that they had permission to look through get from another organization to try to figure out if he was find his Canadian citizenship status or whatever. And I'm looking at this thing, and there's not enough information on it. Like, he has names of ancestors and birthdays and everything from like 200 years back, and that he knows, and they don't ask any of that on there. And he has a very common name, and it's like, I'm looking at this thing going, you're not going to find anything from this form. How can you think there's not enough information on here that you're asking? It's ridiculous. So I said to the woman, well, he's been in the same address that he got his passport in, so they should be able to find it from that, but nope, denied. So now I have to apply again, and they'll just keep denying him. I'm expecting.
I'm probably hoping the cancer
Yep.
takes me.
Whatever.